What's up everyone? I'm Sketchy Brett, YouTube's sketchiest artist, and today we're not sketching with fine liner or pen. We're using a pencil and then going straight into watercolor, and we've got no reference. But if you are struggling with single point perspective, this is a really great exercise and you can paint along with me. It's really easy and it really gives you a good understanding of single point perspective, and it's really a lot of fun. So we're going to jump into that straight away. So this might be daunting to a lot of you. So just remember that we can't really make a mistake. We are going to do a 1 point perspective. So we draw ourselves a horizon line. Doesn't really matter. I kind of like to get just below halfway. I don't like to split the page in half. It just makes for a slightly awkward composition. And then pick any point. You can pick here, and that's going to be our vanishing point. And now just draw out lines. As long as you start at the vanishing point, you can't really get it wrong. And that is all our perspective lines. So now, this is just from imagination. So I like the idea of having some buildings. We could have a big building kind of coming in here. Remembering that buildings are going to have two faces. The face that's facing towards us, that's just going to be flat. So those are all going to be rectangles or something like a rectangle. And then the building is going to go down on that perspective line. So we might have some buildings running along here, big wide one, perspective line goes in. And you can see already they all just work. If we've got a building that's higher behind, we can go up. Well, let's not go to exactly the same height. Let's go there. It goes down. And now we don't have a perspective line, but we can just create one by joining those two. There's our building. So it's really that simple. If you don't have a perspective line, draw it in. And then as we get down here, we can be a little bit nondescript. We're remembering that on the perspective line, it's all going to be facing, or at the perspective point rather, it's all going to be kind of facing directly to us. Now, if we wanted to say add in something like some street poles, same thing applies. Same perspective line. Now, let's give ourselves a little car. If you want to draw a car, it's a square, kind of split in two, angled out for the window. And let's just put it a little bit onto perspective here. Bring out the bonnet. Mirrors. That's it. Maybe we want a smaller one, a little bit further back. And we can also bring these buildings down a little bit because we've got a pavement. So we pick our perspective line and we bring them across. And you can see how we've already got this sort of zooming in effect without having really done all that much. Maybe a nice sign over here. shop front window with something going on. And we can use this as our pavement. Put another little car in here. And then people. We can have some people walking around. Maybe an umbrella. Maybe somebody walking right in our foreground. Backpack on. And maybe over here we can have somebody crossing the street. Right, so we've got a nice little start here. And remember, if you're a Patreon supporter, you're going to get the full and comprehensive version of this. And you should always be thinking in terms of your layers. That's really what this exercise is about. We are layering in color. So now we've got the street here. Again, don't worry about your people. You can maybe give your cars a little bit of space because that's going to allow them to be built up later, and kind of work with the perspective lines. That we established when you're laying down your strokes. And now I want to put in some red, which is going to be coming off of these lights from the cars. And then while that starts to settle, we're going to start to get a nice pool of this dark gray that we're going to put onto the road. And we're going to really kind of flood it in around these lights. because we want that to really mix in with each other. So make sure you've got a nice puddle of this color before you start even the red. You kind of want to have that ready to go so that you don't have to be mixing colors halfway through. Okay, now we just give that some time to dry. While we do, we can build in a shadow line in front of these buildings. And this would be something like maybe trees or something like that that's going along that bottom, and it also just helps add an extra layer of depth. But these buildings are far from over. We're not finished with them yet. They're going to get a lot darker. Now we can start thinking of our cars. Put in the windscreen, tires, and maybe some of our people. We'll have to wait for those to dry. I think we had somebody somewhere around here. So we've got a pretty cool scene going on. And this person here is getting a little bit lost for me. So I'm just going to kind of bring them to life by adding in a little bit of blue. That just helps them stand out. Then we might want to put something in this shop front, just as a shadow. Now we can start to bring in a few, I'm saying details, but using the word very loosely because you don't want it to be too detailed at the same time. So just bear that in mind. And then we had our street lights. And that is pretty much us done. So there we have it, our very own street scene painted from imagination. Now, I really hope you've painted along or you've got a better understanding of single point perspective. It's really easy when you're not following a reference, and it's a good way to get a good understanding of it before you try and apply it to a reference image, because you can't really get it wrong. Now, if you're still battling with perspective, here's a video I've done on perspective that might help unlock your understanding a little bit more. If you'd like to jump into something that's me painting beginning to end, here's a video that I've done recently that I'm sure you'll enjoy. And until next week, keep it sketchy.